I was on a TV show once with David Susskind back in those days. We said, gentlemen, what is advertising? And the guy from J. Walter Thompson, one of them, goes into this 5-minute discussion about marketing and this and that. I mean, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And then he said, George, why are you making faces? The camera cuts to me. David, I think these two guys and me are in a different business. And he said, well, what do you think advertising is? And I said, well, I think advertising is poison gas. Advertising should cheer you up and should choke you, and should get the chills, and maybe you should pass out when you watch it. Great copy lines in the history of advertising. You know, they laughed when I sat down at the piano. I'd walk a mile for a camel. I mean, I think there's thousands of them, you know. What the art director brought was the fact that when you did advertising, you always looked for a big idea. So you did something that stunned.
Dear clumsy bellboys, brutal cab drivers, careless doormen, and all butterfingered luggage handlers all over the world. Have we got a suitcase for you?
It was a joy back then to look at advertising coming from 4, 5, or 6 agencies. You know, it was just a joy to see these campaigns coming at you. Today, I mean, you look at advertising and you say, wow, wow, wow. Bob Dylan, Malcolm X, John Kennedy, and Fidel Castro. And the crosshair effect was kind of a prophetic note. A lot of Esquire covers I did were cultural breakthroughs because it's an ad, it's a statement, and what it says is, this magazine's doing some wonderful stuff in here. There's something going on, something exciting going on. Black Santa Claus was me spoofing the whites of America. Everybody said, oh my God, hey, I'm for Negro rights, but you know, they're getting going a little too far here, the Black Panthers. And I would say, fuck you, this son of a bitch is gonna come down your chimney and cut your balls off. Muhammad Ali, St. Sebastian. He came out in his trunks, etc. And I said, Muhammad, I want you to pose just like this. I want it kind of relaxed. I want it the same way, but your head is in agony. I hated the system. I hated the status quo. We were changing the world, and everybody respected it. They really understood you were changing the culture. I would make political and graphic statements that grabs at the heart, grabs at your throat, and make statements about what the hell you think life should be about. You know, and that's what I've done, I think, all my life with my advertising. Beautiful sound. I love this town. I mean, you could get me out of this city. I grew up actually in West Bronx, way West Bronx, a strict Irish Catholic neighborhood, the most racist neighborhood possible. You had at least 50 fistfights with 50 kids who became my best friends, but you had to fight your way through the neighborhood, you know, because I'm Greek, you know. I've always had this reputation that I've been rough with clients. And, you know, I have been. It's not that I'm rough with clients. I have a big idea, and I show it to them, and I try to sell it to them, and, you know, I'm trying to make them rich, you know, and I got to drag them into being rich, you know. It drives you nuts. I can get excited about selling a new kind of pen. I said, wow, look at that pen. Yeah, it's a little this, it's just a little does this. Wow, that's sensitive. Let me sell that motherfucker. What a pen. You know, it's a work of art, too, you know. I mean, I really could get excited about almost nothing, you know. You look at my Maple commercial, for instance. We all use our clickers, so we're all clicking away. And when you click, it's a scene going to another scene. So you click off that son of a bitch. Mickey Mantle's there, holding it back.
I want my Maple.
Johnny Unitas.
I want my Maple.
So when you're clicking, you're going to hit...
I want my MTV.
I can get MTV to be accepted by all the cable operators in America, even though they spent a year pissing on it.
Call your cable company and say, I want my MTV!
They didn't have any cable operators. When I told Bob Pittman, I'll get a rock star, you know, and if you do it my way, we can get thousands of rock fans to drive the cable operators crazy with phone calls. And they said, well, you can't get a rock star. They all hate us. I said, The name of the game is to get a rock star. I went after Mick Jagger and got Mick Jagger.
I want my MTV.
Run the commercial in San Francisco on a Thursday night. 8:30 in the morning in New York, which is 5:30 in San Francisco. The cable operator calls up Bob Pittman, gets him on his private line, and he says, Pittman, get that fucking commercial off the air. Pittman said, I'll take it off right away.
I want my...
The guy in San Francisco says, oh, by the way, I'll take it. So you'll take what? He said, I'll take MTV. He said, why? He said, because I'm getting thousands of phone calls.
I want my MTV.
It's all done. It's in 3 seconds.
I want my Maypo.
I got you. I got you by the balls. I did the commercial. That's advertising, baby. I can make Tommy Hilfiger famous, an important brand, you know, in a couple hours, you know.
He is a visionary. He sees things normal people don't see, and he thinks about what they want to see before they know what they want. He had just recently developed the launch ads for MTV, and he developed this advertising campaign to introduce an unknown to the world of fashion overnight, and he did it. He said, I've got an idea. Why don't we put a picture of Ralph Lauren? He's an old guy with white hair. Calvin Klein, looks a little craggy. And maybe Halston, he's dead. And then we'll say, you're the next. And I said, well, you can't compare me to Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein. I mean, I can't compare myself. It'll sound like I'm bragging or something. You know, I like to view myself as looking at those guys as the gods.
So I show him an ad, and it says, the 4 great American designers for men are, and then it said C dash dash dash. You know, you had to fill in the name. Calvin Klein, the other one's R dash, Ralph Lauren, P dash dash dash, Perry Ellis. Then it said T dash dash dash, H dash 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 dash. You know, who the hell knew who TH was? Tommy's mother didn't know.
I don't want any part of this.
Of course, Tommy saw it and almost had a heart attack. Said, I can't do that.
He sat me down and said, listen, if you want to have any name recognition in this business at all, you need millions of dollars worth of advertising over and over and over and over, and it'll take you years. If you want your name to be known right away and people to go and look at your clothes, we need something unique like this.
I always use the term seemingly outrageous. You should look at something and think it's a little crazy, and in the next 2 or 3 or 4 seconds or 20 seconds, you realize, wow, it's on the nose. You know, but the product better be damn good, because if the product isn't any good, I'll put it out of business. Because people will run and buy it and find it's a piece of shit.
I had sleepless nights because I was thinking this is going to, this is going to be the end of my career. And then every once in a while I would think, but maybe the name will become known, people will look at the clothes and like the clothes. The ads ran, people went crazy. All of 7th Avenue said, who does he think he is? He's no designer. Ralph and Calvin have been working years and years and years.
He was on the Johnny Carson show the week after I ran the ad.
I said, it's not a campaign I dreamed up myself. It was a campaign Mr. George Lois dreamed up and convinced my business partner we should run. It was not my choice to run this campaign. And I'm a struggling designer, and I hope for the best with my company and my clothes. But I've been truly embarrassed by it.
And I did a gigantic billboard that said the same words on 7th Avenue to piss off Calvin and Ralph, etc. He became famous overnight, literally.
But it also drove me into such embarrassment. I rolled up my sleeves and worked harder than I ever thought I could work. I knew there would be only one way to prove the naysayers wrong, and that would be to come out with amazing clothes. So I literally rolled up my sleeves and worked like an animal, making sure that every button, every zipper, every buttonhole, every color, every fit, every fabric was to perfection. George turbocharged my success, and then it just took off. Then the hip-hoppers started wearing it, then the rockers, and then the suburbanites, then the dads and the moms and the kids, and my business burst into a multi-billion-dollar global business.
Great advertising makes food taste better, it makes cars run better, It changes the perception of it. I never had a failure in my life. I probably have, but I forgot them. Because there's nothing you could learn from a failure. If you sit there with a failure and then try to figure out how you failed, you just fucked yourself. Because you're out of business. Because all of a sudden it's George, be careful. My mother told me to be careful. My father told me to be careful. Everybody tells you to be careful. Your coaches tell you to be careful. School tells you in the army they tell you to be careful. Going into advertising, that's when everybody really told you to be careful. In a meeting, people say, hey, George, be careful. People think that the ice is 3 inches thick, and it's 2 feet thick. And what I try to tell everybody is, you got power in you to do more than you're doing. Everything should be so ambitious.